This is Jim from Better Slots, and the purpose of this video is to show you how to set up your Bally Alpha after a full clear. In this case, we're looking at versions 2005, 6, and 7, or in other words, if the dates on your operating system card are those dates, then this is what your menu would look like. If you have a newer version of operating system like 2008 or newer, you're going to want to look for my other video because the menu can be a little bit different. Now in this case, we are installing our Better TITO Ticket In, Ticket Out product, so we will be setting up for that as part of the menu setup that we do. So after you're clear, the machine will boot up to this screen where you see the game behind, and in front you'll see the little error message. And what you want to do is press the little white test button on your board. And once you do, you see it takes you to the main menu. The first thing you want to do is touch Setup. You want to go to Machine Setup and then Device Setup. Once there, it lists all your devices. You want to select your printer type. In this case, it's an Ithaca 950. You want to say no coin acceptor, no hopper, and then you want to select your bill validator type. In this case, it's a Mars. And then finally, this is a quick hits game, so we're going to set up our button panel for the 14 button deck. Your game may be different, so be sure to check that. After that, touch Save, and then Exit. Back to the main menu. The next thing you want to do is Credit Setup. You want to set your base denom for a penny, 0.01, enter. And then down below here, multi-denomination. In this case, because it's a quick hit game, it's going to be disabled. So touch Set. Next, touch Denom Configuration. You pick out the denomination you want to work with, and then the percentage of payout. Then touch Set. After that, touch Save. And you can see it takes us back to the credit limit page. Touch Exit, back to the main menu. You're going to want to touch Clock and set up your clock however you want with the correct date and time. You can also change the time zone if you want. After you do that, touch Set. Back to the main menu. Next thing you want to do is Game Setup. On Game Setup, typically it will allow you to select the number of lines that you want to play and then the maximum number of credits. So in this case, we'll do 25 lines at 5 credits per line, and that makes our max bet 125 credits, or $1.25 in this case. So touch Save and Exit. Next thing you're going to want to do is COM, and this is where we get into setting up the Better TITO settings. Touch Serial Setup at the top, and you can see it brings up this menu. Next to Host COM 1, where it says None, touch it one time, it changes to SAS Primary. Then next to that, touch Config. Takes you to a new menu. The only thing you want to change on this screen is next to Validation. You just touch it until it says System. Then touch Save. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is set up your progressives. Now this is only if your game has progressives. If not, skip this next step that I'm doing. But this is a quick hits game, so we're going to set up our progressives. You touch None until it says Internal, and then next to that touch Config. This brings up the progressive setup screen. Because it's a quick hits, we're going to highlight or turn on the top 5 levels, and then next to that is contribution. I like to use 0.1 for the top one, and then increase slightly to 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and finally 0.5 for the last one. That's our contribution rate. The next thing would be the progressive starting amount. This will vary with your max bet setup on the quick hits game. So I'm going to enter what's relevant to this game, since I have a $1.25 max bet, but it can be or will be different for you depending on what you set your max bet up for. So before you go to this step, you're going to want to do some research on that. In this case, my top progressive is $31.25, and then it goes to $12.50. Third one is $125. Fourth one is $62.5. And then finally the bottom tier progressive is $12.50. Okay, so we're done setting up our progressives. Touch save. Then touch previous. This takes us back to the original serial comm setup screen. At this point you want to touch set. It'll ask you, are you sure this is what you want to do? And say yes. And notice now that the dual host setup button, which was grayed out before, is now highlighted and you can touch it. Takes you to a new menu. Basically all the settings here you want to change so they say SAS primary. After that, touch save, then previous, and then exit. And now we're back on our original screen, and notice under pending status all our errors are gone, which means we're done programming. So you can just touch return to game, close the door, let the machine boot back up, and your TITO will be up and working. Okay, good luck.